for housing close to downtown. I have a little apartment building on Fifth Street that has units that are 400 to 500 square feet. I never have a problem filling those. So I absolutely support. I know we need it. I know the rental market absolutely needs it, and I would do everything we could to make that a real priority, because I know the need.
The need is especially present, I think, for young people. So the next question, 1 minute each, is there are 5,800 registered voters under the age of 30 within the city of Sarasota. In the last city election, only 68 of them voted, which is awful. And one of the reasons we started this group. But anyways, the questions are, why do you believe so few young people vote in city elections? And what do you believe the city should be doing to get out the youth vote? And we'll go with Linda. Sorry.
Well, I wish I knew the real answer to that in terms of why young people don't vote more than they do. Maybe they're just frustrated with the, you know, in our case with the city commission, they don't feel like they're being listened to. And I think if that's the case, then they need to be, our city commission needs to be a more inviting group to encourage the young people, and encourage everybody, but particularly the young people, to come down and talk to us. I remember the first time I went to a city commission meeting, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't talk to these people. And lo and behold, they're just like everybody else. They don't bite, and they really do listen. So please come down and get involved. And I think if more people did that, then they might get to a point where they feel like their vote was worth more.
I spent a lot of time trying to get non-traditional voters to vote, and that includes young people, Hispanic people, African American people. And one thing that I think retards or prevents them from voting is they actually don't think their vote makes a difference. They actually, when you talk to them, they say, why should I vote? It's not going to make a significant difference. One vote is not going to make a difference. And I don't believe that, and I tried to convince them that each election does make a difference.
I think you have to, number one, you have to let people know there's an election going on. And I think that's been one of our big issues, particularly in March. I don't advocate March elections. All of my materials, everything you say, everything you see that says Richard Dorfman says vote March 12th. So that would be a good start, letting people know there's an election, make it easier to vote. I think the other thing that's important is letting people know, give them issues that resonate with young people. Again, job creation, affordable places to live, opportunity. Know that they have an advocate that's listening to them, that they believe those things are important too. And I will be an advocate for you. If there are issues that resonate with people, then, you've got a reason to get involved. So let's try to tailor our issues that don't just deal with the issues that deal with a younger generation, things that the young people are not that concerned with. You're concerned with jobs, you're concerned with having a place to live, you're concerned with downtown. Those issues are all obtainable. Those issues can be brought to the commission, and you will have the opportunity to influence those issues if you vote.
Yeah, it's got to be relevant, and that's the hard thing. How are these elections relevant? Is it Washington politics as usual? Does it spill down into our community? A lot of young people, depending on the age. When I first ran in 2005, it was, I don't know, 2, 3, 4% out of under 30, and then there's that 30 under, and then you break it up to another segment where they may be busy with their families. Now there's a lot of reasons why young people don't vote. I think a big one is forget the family, forget all that. What is relevant? A lot of that's been said. What are the issues? Housing. What am I not able to do as a 30-year-old in this community? Students also. Students, I think, is kind of a different segment of the population. But it's got to be, I think in the March elections, it's very isolated for young people. And I don't know if we're going to get into the other part of it as far as November election, but that's the momentum that young people need. The social media, that is their way of dealing with things, the social media. So that's all relevant to when the election is.
Thank you. Kelvin.
That's a great question. I think there's a number of reasons. Now, I'll try to talk fast. first of all, I think groups just like this need to be more active, and I applaud you for what you're doing. I think groups like this group is going to help more young people get involved. Another thing, I think we need to see more young faces on the city commission. And that's not to suggest that anyone running on the commission can't relate to younger people. That's not what I'm saying. But the way our system is, it's difficult for a person my age or younger to run for city commission when really some would add a lot to it. I think that's one thing. We need to see more people in this age range running for city commission. We could bring a lot to the table. And then I think even the elections being in March, and I heard a great argument last night why they should be in March, but in my mind, overall, I think it's better in November. I had to stop a speeding movement in November. I had people ready to get to the polls in November, and I had to tell them it's not, it's in March. And they're like, what? And then after that, I'm getting Facebook messages after the November election, did you win? Everybody's assuming it's in March, and so now the attention span is gone. It's off the radar, when it would have been on the radar. And so I think it's a number of things. But I really think a lot of it's going to be a hinge on groups like yourself, on helping young people to get involved and to be aware of the issues and raise their voices.
Well, I guess I have to plead guilty of being part of the problem. I've tried to make my message interesting, but I'm afraid I've been a little dull sometimes, and I apologize for that. I'm not very good. I'm also not very good with social media, and sometimes on certain blogs I can't even get onto them, and I apologize for that. And I sometimes try to send an email when I can't get on the blog, and if Ray's here tonight, feel free to post that email. I wasn't dissing your blog, I just couldn't get onto it. So I'll try to be better. I'm sorry, I've been so dull.
That actually leads us into our last question from our group, and that is really, do you support a March election, or do you support moving it to November? Why or why not? Starting with Pete.
You know, up until last week, I was for March. But come to think of it, March is the allergy season. I'm starting to open up to November.
Last night I had a great conversation with someone who believes the election should be in March. I went home to really. Last night I had a great conversation with someone who believes the election should be in March. I went home and tried to objectively digest it. But here's the thing, here's the two reasons why I believe the election should be in November and I just can't get past. First of all, it would be cheaper for the city. And then the turnout would be far greater. And that just, to me, greater turnout, there's no argument against that in my mind. If you're going to have greater turnout, and it's going to be cheaper, and I do agree that it ultimately is the citizens' responsibility to know, but anything that's going to increase voter participation, I think we ought to consider, and I think we need to do it.
Well, look at the patterns. I tend to look at behavior and patterns of behavior and patterns of situations. And the voting with the young people is getting really ridiculous. And I don't know if that's going to change. Obviously, with all the things that we've suggested, you can get out the vote and all that. I still think, and I've gone back and forth on this, but I have come full circle that I think November, you have much less disenfranchisement. I think you really do on all kinds of levels, especially with social media. You are going on the November elections, whether it's the national, state, whatever. You could be at the bottom of that, and people still will probably go down because they've got the momentum of the election. March is almost this isolated election that people can't grab onto, and that's just too big a pattern that keeps going, and I would love to be able to change that. So I would be willing to look at the November election. I think it may be time.
I'm an absolute believer in November elections. What cracks me up is the proponents of the March election say there's too much on the ballot, the electorate will not be able to deal with it. The electorate is not smart enough to be able to go down the ballot and figure out who to vote for in Sarasota. Now come on, we're all pretty intelligent. We know how to vote. We can look at the issues. I mean, look at the numbers. 75%, 75% voter turnout in November, 15 to 20% turnout in March. I mean, it's a nonsense. You've got to make it easy for everybody to vote. The other thing is, if we voted in November, we wouldn't be competing with spring break in March.
Okay, here's the rub that nobody's thought about. If we go to November, which election is going to be in November? Is it going to be the runoff election, or is it going to be the original election? There are two elections probably in this race. Which one are we going to put in November? There has to be 60 days between those two. So are we going to put the first election in November and the runoff 2 months later? Which one? We don't know the answer to that yet. And in addition, with regard to elections in November, they tend to be more partisan. I believe in non-partisan city elections. I think it's really important. The other thing, just from a practical point of view, is when you put together a local committee, you have to have a lot of volunteers. There isn't enough money to have paid staff like the national elections. So the volunteers in the November election that you might have in a November election, that pool is now reduced by the national election. Thank you.
I support moving the elections to November from a cost standpoint and from a voter turnout standpoint. That's
And before we open it up for questions, I just want to say that the fact that you all are here and made this a priority, and the fact that we're standing remotely and have a lot of press here tonight shows that we're serious. This is going to be a revolutionary thing for Sarasota. We are young people who want to get involved, we want to vote, we want to have a say in Sarasota and how it affects us. So things are going to change, and we're so glad that you're open to that, and get ready. So. Anyways, we're going to do about 1 minute each for the answers to any audience questions, and we'll just go by kind of pick from the audience.
Raise your hand. It's like school.
Raise your hand. I know a lot of good questions. Daniel.
From helping open up a business on the North Trail.
If you guys stand
sorry.
up.
You gotta speak
say
up.
hi.
Speak up.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and from helping open a business on the North Trail. The North Trail used to be the gateway into Sarasota when we didn't have I-75, but much has changed. A lot of the businesses that used to make sense on the North Trail actually are contributing to the problem. So what would your vision be for a better North Trail and a better gateway still from the airport into the downtown area?
Is that for everyone or?
Everyone.
Okay, let's start down at the end.
I'm going to steal the reference line. First thing you need in North Trail is law enforcement. And they've been trying to get the dedicated officer to walk that, and for some reason they haven't. I don't know if it's budget or what. But they don't have adequate law enforcement in North Trail. That'd be the first thing. Now the second thing would be transportation. If you load it up with all kinds of attractions, you're going to find that it's only 2 lanes there, 2 lanes in each direction, and it's going to gridlock. Particularly if you put street parking on and take one of the lanes away. So you've got 2 things, law enforcement and transportation.
First of all, I think one of the keys to long-term development in North Trail, and I believe one of the root symptoms that will halt redevelopment is some of the crime issues in North Sarasota, the open-air drug markets and the prostitution. I think we've got to get a hold of those things. Now, I'm very optimistic about the High Point strategy, which I hope I can help to steward as a city commission. I believe that is going to help deal with some of the root symptoms that prevents investment in North Sarasota. And I think that will begin to draw investment. And I'm excited the more and more I can digest the North Trail overlay plan. It's exciting to me the prospect of seeing that part of Sarasota grow and develop. You're right, that once was a great gateway to our city. Those old hotels were nice at one point, but they're no longer that now. And I don't think that North Trail fully reflects what our city is. You get probably a wrong impression initially of Sarasota if you're coming from the airport. And I really think that the redevelopment of North Trail is going to be key to our future financial success. I'm a big proponent, I've said over and over again, like a broken record, that one of the keys for us, I believe, is to grow our way out of our financial problems. And I believe the North Trail is one area. Of course, there's some air parks in Sarasota that are grown out, but I believe the North Trail is ripe for redevelopment. If we can get it right, get the right recipe like another Yummy House. I'm excited about the Yummy House. That's the perfect fit. Amen. If Yummy House is wrong, I don't want to be right. But yeah, just keep saying that now. Keep talking. But you know, nothing could stay in that spot there. Nothing. But the Yummy Trail is the right recipe, the right thing. And there's another, I think, a Peruvian restaurant coming. If we can draw more like that, I think we're on our way. And I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's the North Trail's time, and everything's been said here. You stole part of my line, but I've gone to a lot of meetings where I ask what is going on with the Yummy House, and that's kind of a redefining moment. You've got parking problems there already. This is great. It is a phenomenal place, and everybody I know has been there. I finally got in after 2 months. I usually send my husband to go because I'm too busy, and he waits in line. There's a lot of things that are going on. Obviously, the Coffee Loft, obviously the Walmart and Goodwill, and the Museum of Whimsy. I took a whole contingent of Council of Governments to the Museum of Whimsy to let them know, all the governments in our county, what's going on in the North Trail, what is the North Trail. I'm on the Bay Estuary program. We're working with money to deal with North Water Tower Park. I'm taking a hard look at the North Trail overlay, absolutely. Also, I think you're going to hear that in the future, we need to look at perhaps more form-based code that the North Trail Overlay District can meld into at some point down the road to get more predictability, a more urban flavor. It is time for the North Trail, and I've been here 20 years and it's been the same thing. I don't think it's the same anymore. We're on a roll with that, and we need to stay focused on the commission, what we're going to do instead of just saying, oh, it's the North Trail. We're done with that. We have to be.
I said it before, and I alluded to some of the things I feel about the North Trail. I'm a market guy, and Dan, it's a great question coming from you because you've established that if you build it, they will come. You open up a little coffee loft, and that thing is packed 24/7. I've never driven past there where that parking lot was not packed. So if the coffee loft can succeed, there is market demand for amenities. So as I said before, let the market speak. Is there a market for rental housing? I believe there is. If we put the rental housing up there, other things will spread along behind it. So again, the market will speak, but we have to help the market. Right now, the zoning is very, very prohibitive on the North Trail. It's very difficult to build there. Legislatively, we have to change the zoning so we can have more density, so we can straighten out some of our parking issues out there. We've got to create an environment in Sarasota where it's easy to invest in our city. We've got 60,000 cars a day up and down the North Trail. People would kill for this location to put up their businesses. But legislatively, our zoning is an absolute downer. It doesn't allow us to build. So make the zoning correct, make it predictable so we don't run into another horrible situation like we had to the Walmart. Let bring people in, make the zoning good, let them know if they dot the I's, cross their T's, they're within code, they've done everything right, they will be allowed to build there. Right now there's no predictability. So change the zoning, get everything sorted out there, make it easier to invest. I honestly believe there is a market up there. Let the market speak, but let's give the market all the tools they have to be able to work and turn around the North Trail.
Do I get as much time as Richard gets? With regard to the North Trail, Daniel, that's a very good question. First of all, we have to realize that many of our city's most important assets are on the North Trail, not the South Trail. And we haven't talked about the educational institutions, the arts and culture institutions. There are books, novels in which some of these places, some of the kitschier places have been featured, such as the Jungle Gardens and the antique cars. But we have to have a comprehensive approach, and one is a crime approach with the High Point strategy, which is a shutting down prostitution and drug markets. We have to have a comprehensive approach with regard to transit, because if you have mixed use on the trail with 45-mile-an-hour traffic, it won't work, it will fail. We have to have a comprehensive approach with regard to planning and zoning. One of the problems with the North Trail Overlay District is it's optional, it's not required. It doesn't provide predictability for the development community, and it doesn't provide predictability for the neighborhood. So it doesn't resolve any of the issues. The last time when they did the North Trail zoning, what happened where all those underperforming motel owners decided this is the opportunity for me to speculate on my property. So we have to have a plan that deals with some anti-speculation components of that.
By the time we get to the last person and all these wonderful ideas, it doesn't do me any good to repeat everything everybody else has said. I agree with it all. I've been around a long time. I've watched the plans for North Trail come and go, and nothing ever happens. But I do believe that we're on the cusp now of actually making some things happen up there. And everyone's right. You know, we have to address the crime problems, and we have to address especially the motels that are really the places where a lot of that activity happens. But there's so many things. We have a great opportunity for the North Trail now, and I think it's at a time where we can move forward and stop talking about it and actually do something.
Okay, next question.
Yes. My name's also Daniel. I think one of the things that it's clear that really sets Sarasota apart, that's unique about Sarasota in Southwest Florida, is that this is a city that really has an urban core, and even aside from downtown, it has some fantastic walkable mixed-use areas, and that is what made me fall in love with the city when I moved here 2 years ago. And I think the foreclosure crisis really also threw that into stark relief, that Sarasota is unique in Southwest Florida, and that's an asset. So, you know, facing the almost inevitability that the population is going to continue to grow here in the future, and that as the real estate market picks back up, there's going to be pressure, you know, from developers to build out the city in a, you know, one way or another, whether it's more sprawl or whether it's more dense mixed-use developments. What, and this is for all the candidates, what do you see as the City Commission's role in allowing that growth, fostering it, but guiding the nature of it to maintain the livability and the unique character of Sarasota?
We're gonna get Linda go first.
Well, I think as a city commissioner, I would be in a very good position to take